Hey everybody, I'm here to talk about my research project for contemporary artists. I'm going to start with talking about Aaliyah Chapin. Aaliyah started pre-2020. She was doing these very realistic, hyper realistic images of like the nude form, and it was really about like showing a real body, what it's the realities of living in a body, and just very much about the human form. And then COVID hit, and it says when COVID hit, the world turned inside out, and so did I. And so she did this film with her husband. It's just 4 minutes long, and I highly recommend it. And it's about the complete twist her work does at this point in time. So for all of us that feel like grad school might be compelling us to switch, this is one of those ones where like an artist kind of completely changes direction within their work, and she starts exploring the internal environment being represented through form, in a very kind of like mishmash abstracted way, and it evolves from there. And they're just some of the most beautiful things. um, she really develops kind of an inner light to her work. There's a complexity. You have a mishmash between hyperrealism, which is her strong suit, right? That's where she comes from, and then these distorted forms, like this leg on the right here that kind of comes up and like deeply curves down in an unrealistic way, um, to help create this beautiful glowing kind of sphere of bodies. I find them very powerful. But this one is one of my favorite works, period. Uh, this was called The Day Roe Fell, and it's in reference to Roe versus Wade being overturned. And once you know that, it kind of like really informs what's going on with this moment, which, usually her pieces don't involve like this outside element coming in because it's supposed to be an internal landscape. But this one's like that wound, that cut that's being made straight to the core of a woman. That's, I love it. It's very powerful. My second um, artist I'm going to be talking about today, and I might say her name wrong, is Argavan Khosravi. Khosravi is an Iranian born artist working in the US. She is known for these works where there's a lot of different picture planes going on, all these interlocking things. And they're larger. They're like usually at least like 4 by 5 feet ish, and very sculptural in a way. They come off the walls, um, and kind of creating these like stories through all these different picture planes. Um, love this one so much. So being Iranian born, like that, she talks about like that threat of war that kind of hangs over that area, and just like this one was kind of meant to represent that. It's called The Burden of Thoughts, and you have these women in cages, and it, for her that was supposed to kind of represent corruption within modern politics and all those kind of things, kind of keeping us enclosed. The Pomegranate Garden, this one is she does talk a lot about women within her work, and so I thought this one for me really connected with the idea of womanhood. And you see this woman, it's kind of hard to tell in this, but she's crying, and then her other arm is connected, and through these lines all through like this, missile for, destruction, and then down here into this pomegranate garden. And I kind of took that as fertility. But then, on this one, we have the woman's lips showed sewn shut, and just kind of how it's representing women is very powerful and subversive. That's one of the things that I kind of was really drawn to within her work, is that she is referencing, they talk about a lot when talking about her work, referencing Persian miniature paintings from history, which were kind of illustrations in books and all this kind of stuff. But she's taking that kind of theme within her work and subverting it towards a meaning that she's choosing to convey. And I love this destruction of, a regular canvas picture plane, and there's just like these juxtaposition between all of these different like shapes and planes and levels, and like real shadows that get created. And I would love to see her work in person. And then finally, we're going to be talking about um, Jay Lay. Totally butchered his name, I'm sure, but Again, big fan. His work is really defined by these ethereal figures that are lit with an inner light kind of existing between, I don't know, like it's not in reality, but something dreamlike, and that's a big theme for him. But so he's a Chinese born painter living and working in Paris. He defines his work in dualities a lot, somewhere between, and there is a lot of work that kind of deals more with this that I don't show, that the idea between pleasure and pain. There's a lot of portraits he does focus on the face, like this one, where the figure could be either having a very good time or a very bad time. And but also like so awake and asleep are themes within his work, living and dying, just kind of this nebulous state of in between these things. Um, his work is his figures are very purposefully indistinct. They're not supposed to be any specific person. You're meant to kind of come to them and be able to place your own interpretation of who these people might be onto it, and they're just very nebulous and in between, just kind of creating a connection between the viewer and the artist. He talks about these works being really drawn from his memory. He doesn't. He used to work from like references, and now it's just purely just pulled from himself, meant to be kind of everyday scenes, but it also twisted to be extraordinary. And I obviously feel a deep connection with his work, and I love the masterful way that he makes these pieces feel mysterious but also familiar. I do feel connected to these figures when I'm looking at them, and he's also really the master of I love smoothness and like blended and all these kinds of things. Well, he also does that while also bringing in a lot of texture, and that's something I would love to emulate and study from him more. Anyway, thank you so much. These are my references. I again highly recommend that video on Aaliyah Chapman's website about her change and stuff. But anyway, thank you.